Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the MedTech Impact Podcast, where you get to hear from leaders and innovators who are shaping the future of medical technology. I'm Kyle Cruz.
And I'm Richard Meiklejohn.
And we're your hosts of the show.
So today on the MedTech Impact Podcast, we're delighted to be joined by Swarna Shiv, CEO and founder of Unsmudgeable. Swarna, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Thanks so much for your time.
We are delighted to have you on here. And I think as well, just because like the technology of what you have is a little bit different from what we normally have in the show. So, super excited to get into that and, tell the listeners more about what it is and what you're doing and share more about the innovation. But we always like to set the stage for the audience. So tell us, what's that big problem that Unsmudgeable is looking to solve?
Yeah, the big problem is that people can't see when they have their fingerprints and facial smudges on their glasses, and that often becomes an issue of safety or productivity a lot for people who need their glasses to see. So I'm thinking about people in the military, the medical space, construction, trucking. That becomes an issue of life or death and not just I need to wipe my glasses right now. And so what we're solving is allowing you to see through your smudges and not just having to wipe them off.
And imagine so many people who wear glasses. You and I sitting here today, both wearing glasses. I wake up every day and my wife almost laughs at me because my glasses are literally like, two pieces of like cloudy, foggy mess. And through the day, you build up so much like dirt and grime and like filth without actually realizing it. And before you know it, to your point, that vision can become blurry. And we're looking at screens all day and our eyes are constantly strained. What are some of the stats and numbers you're seeing around the potential impact of these problems?
Yeah, I actually spent a lot of time talking to eye doctors when I was doing my customer discovery and just trying to learn more about how to build the right solution. What we found is that everybody's brain has something called blur tolerance. And so some people can handle their smudges and, walk throughout the day with really dirty glasses. Some people can't handle it. And you can see them wiping their glasses, 5, 6 times a day. And so for those people who have a lower blur tolerance, that becomes a lot of eye strain, leading to headaches, unwanted eye fatigue, and also sometimes a change in prescription even. And so what I'm trying to do here is that help these eyewear users literally see more clearly, not only for convenience or safety, productivity, but also for the health of their eyes. 1 in 3 people wear glasses, so this is a global problem. And that's just with prescription. We're not even addressing the smudges you see on your sunglasses when you're driving, your safety glasses, and now VR headsets are becoming a thing. So it's a global issue, and I could see more than scratches, fogging, anything else. Everybody has fingerprints on their glasses, whether they like it or not.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I can imagine so many people going through these problems. And again, not just the people who wear glasses, but I love that focus and the mention around safety glasses.
Yeah.
People who are in that high stress environment, and maybe it's, it's not always easy to clean them because you're in the middle of a process. And so I just see so much opportunity about what you're looking at here.
Yeah, I've seen also, especially in the high stake use occupations, we're seeing about a 20% decrease in productivity, at least reported from the US HR departments, that because of eye strain or like lack of vision or something impeding their vision. So this is definitely something that businesses should also take into account, especially for doctors, surgeons that have heavily use of eyewear or some type of protective gear.
I'm really curious, Richard. I want to ask Swarna because it doesn't sound like this is a new problem. It sounds like this is a problem that's been around for a long time, right? So I would imagine there's gotta be products or solutions or something out there that's helping maybe prevent these products, a spray, something. So tell us kind of how is the industry addressing this problem today?
That's the number one question I get from investors or customers is like, why the heck hasn't this been done before? And so that's what I've spent the first 6 months of Unsmudgeable doing along with customer discovery is what is the state of the technology? Why hasn't this been there before? I know my glasses, Richard's glasses, everyone's glasses actually do have anti-fingerprint coatings on them and even your phone screens, etc. But what we're seeing is that this anti-fingerprint technology is considered oleophobic or oil fearing, meaning that every time you touch your glasses, your screens, the oil oils from your fingers and your face cluster, and it causes the light to refract in a way that you can't see through your smudges. And so these coatings are actually repelling your oils, making it easier to wipe your glasses. But you shouldn't have to wipe your glasses in the first place, and that's why Unsmudgeable is here. What we're doing here is that we're allowing you to kind of see through your fingerprints. And so what we saw previously is that the last time oleophobic or anti-fingerprint coatings were patented by the eyewear industry, by some of the largest manufacturers, was in 2010. So it's been over 15 years since there's been actual improvement or innovation. After talking to a lot of our customers, we asked them like how often do their coatings or user experience get innovated upon. That's about every 2 to 3 years, versus a lot of the R&D funding in the industry right now is going towards more sexy parts of the business, like the frames, the aesthetics of the glasses. And so not knowing that an unsmudgeable coating like this is technically possible.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the coating. How is this coating applied, and what can you tell us about this coating that allows it to work in such a different way, and how does it prevent the smudges?
Yeah, we always say that we're not preventing people, from having smudges on their glasses, but we're allowing them to make the smudges unnoticeable from most viewing angles. And so our treatment basically manipulates the surface tension and the light of the end user so they can make their fingerprints unnoticeable. They can see through them and continue operating like normal versus, repelling the lens, repelling the fingerprints and causing you to wipe your glasses. So what we're doing here is that we originally started off, the first version of the product was a liquid that would then just get applied to the lens, harden, and then that was our coating. But now that we're entering the industry, our customers have actually communicated the way that coatings are deposited or added to lenses at scale is actually vaporization. So they take physical pellets or tablets of your coating material, put it in a vacuum chamber, and then evaporate it, and it settles on both sides of the glasses. So that's what we have right now, is a liquid version and a pellet version that allow you to see through your fingerprints.
So it sounds like you're serving both markets then. You're working with the manufacturers of the glasses, of the glass specifically, and you're helping them in that manufacturing process apply your coating through that vapor technique. But then it sounds like there's also maybe possibly that business to consumer aspect where there's a liquid that, okay, maybe over time you might want to reapply it, or to other glasses that you have that weren't made with the vapor coating, they could then apply it to those glasses.
Yeah, no. When I started, I wanted to figure out what's the best way to make an impact in the eyewear industry. And so what I've seen from the eyewear industry as a whole is they operate on this B2B2C model, where people license out their technologies, like even Gucci's licensing out their designs to Essilor, who's then producing it and retailing it. So similar thing with optical coatings. We're looking to license out the composition, the recipe to these lens manufacturers, and then for them to apply with their physical vapor deposition or electron beam evaporation processes. And one thing we really had to come over, or hurdle that we were trying to come over, was how do we basically make it easy for them to put this on their glasses using their existing machines, their existing equipment. We need easy buy-in, so we're not, reinventing the wheel.
That's a really good point, and that could be a conversation for another day. But Richard, what's fascinating to me is not only am I hearing about an opportunity for these glass manufacturers to make a better product for their customers, but I'm actually hearing a revenue generating opportunity where they might be able to maybe white label or leverage the liquid side and then sell, more of that kind of follow-up accessory, right, to their customers, to just maintain that unsmudgeable feature. So I think it's pretty neat.
That's so funny that you brought that up, Kyle, because I was just talking to someone about potentially trying to entertain the D2C route in the later on and what that would look like. And so I definitely could see that, and it would allow us to enter other markets too. So definitely on the horizon for Unsmudgeable.
Yeah, you make a great point, Kyle. I think about the opportunities, and clearly you're focused quite rightly on the glasses market is huge. There's so much potential there to improve, but you're having a technology like this that could be applied to other surfaces. I think we were just talking very briefly before this about, where you potentially have fouling through endoscopic lenses. Could there be something there where there could be the technology application applied to that? So I'd love to, before we get deep into the sort of go-to-market part, like tell us a little more about the foundation, is there IP there? What's unique about this in terms of that model?
Yeah, we are patent pending. We were built all in-house. We're proprietary and not affiliated with any university, which is really awesome. So I think a lot of people think that, we had to do a tech transfer and all of that fun stuff that traditionally is seen in this field. But thankfully, my team and I were very passionate and very persistent about making sure were the ones developing the tech. I'm listed as the inventor of our patent, and so we're currently patent pending and it really just came about from a non-technical idea. I come from a business background actually, but I've just been so passionate about Unsmudgeable to get into the lab and recruit a team with me to solve the problem.
That's awesome. And Kyle, we speak to a lot of founders, and getting that idea and that traction to go from idea through to intellectual property is something they always ask about. So how have you found that? Have you been self-funding? Have you found good funding sources to go through that process?
Yeah, when I first started Unsmudgeable, I was just a junior at Babson, so I had to do a crazy amount of pitch competitions
Mhm.
to basically afford filing our provisional application and getting a earlier filing date on board, and that's kind of how we got our first filing date and that was huge for me. The law firm that we're working with is Foley and Lardner, and they're huge about patents and IP, and especially in this space. So I'm very grateful, but long answer short, it was a bunch of pitch competitions that got us at that initial filing date.
Well, we like to hear that. We're obviously big advocates of these competitions and all the support networks that come with them. I mean, we never can say enough thanks to the people who, make these possible in terms of people who give up their time voluntary, whether that's as a mentor, whether that's as a reviewer. But, this is such an incredible ecosystem that supports this type of work. And I think
Yeah.
particularly in the medical space, there's so many people who pay it forward, pay it back. It's a fantastic system to be part of, and clearly it's made a difference for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So grateful. And I think after that, we were even able to stretch that. We've been operating so leanly. We've been able to stretch that money to get our first lab space, hire our first part-time intern, get the materials and equipment necessary. And then after that, we raised a small family and friends round. But it was really the bulk of it at that beginning was from these pitches and prizes.
Awesome. Well, let's move forward to today. So, tell us a little bit more about where you are now and what the sort of the next steps are in terms of this development process.
Yeah, Unsmudgeable's focus for 2025 is commercialization, and we're at the cusp of it. We have gotten some pilots signed with lens manufacturers who are super excited to work with us, and not just to apply it for their eyewear, but other surfaces like we were mentioning. So they're in the helmet space, they're in the screen space. So all our efforts and our resources right now are focused on making our customers happy, getting those pilots into revenue generation, and then hopefully scaling into the eyewear and beyond. We're currently patent pending. I'm fundraising right now and hiring more people to the team. So a lot of fun stuff on all fronts, but all of it is just focused on making our customers happy and making the lens manufacturers excited to work with us.
It's so neat, Carl. I love hearing about these stories where they go from that idea through to market, and I know your manufacturing background. I'm sure you're keen to understand more about like how you scale that side of things as well, because again, it's one idea creating one of these products, but obviously going through that process of scaling the manufacturing is super tough in itself.
I I didn't know what physical vapor deposition was prior to this,
Mhm.
electron beam evaporation, chemical vapor deposition. I had to sit on these calls sometimes with my, just learning and just listening more than talking, and that's honestly been the best way as a founder also is just to genuinely just keep your ears open and see what your customer has to say and make it easy for them to say yes to you.
Yeah, and Swarna, what I really like too about your go-to-market strategy is you're really focused on the B2B side. And, I think there's huge advantages to that. I mean, when you can partner with already a well-established brand that already has they're making these products today, and it's kind of, it's an easier, undertaking for them and there's more incentive for them too to innovate, right? Where they can provide a huge return, not just for your customer, but for yourself, right? And I think about, deciding on whether or not to go B2B versus B2C, where B2C, now you're making your own product.
Yeah.
You have to build your own brand. You're spending a lot of money in the marketing side, right?
Yeah.
So I just overall just think it's a brilliant, strategy. And I mean, good on you. Also, I mean, to be a junior at Babson and to see this opportunity, and then to have, the intelligence to approach it the way you're approaching it today, I think it says a lot about you and, I think the future of your organization.
Thank you. I'll put that quote on our posters or something when I send it out. That was awesome. Thanks.
Hey,
Oh,
that's very well said, Cal, because I mean, you come across as such a pro at this, and I'm sure a lot's happened in a short space of time. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing the progress you've made bringing it back to that manufacturing side. I'd love to know more about, is this being made here in mass? Like, again, how have you gone about like finding those suppliers, and what does that look like today?
Yeah, so a lot of what we're doing is just on a small scale at a lab scale. We produce like the liquid, we usually just use the liquid coating applied to pairs of glasses that are non-prescription and send it out to our customers, investors, just to get our foot in the door, to pique their interest. And then depending if they're investors, they get to try out the product, see how it works. If they're customers, they'll be like, okay, what's the industrial version of this? And that's when we kind of show them the pellets or the tablets that we work with for the vaporization process. So it just depends on who we're talking to. I was originally based in Mass for after college, but then we just got a grant from DuPont to move our headquarters to their headquarters in Wilmington, Delaware. So we have a lab and office space here, where we're currently operating from the beginning of 2025.
Well, you mentioned DuPont. I think it's a great time to highlight the sort of the PFAS element or the sustainability element of this material. So maybe you could tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's one thing is like I'm trying to explain for us is that we're not just a first mover in terms of the fingerprint fading function of the coating, but also the fact that we are PFAS free, we're non-toxic. You could drink the liquid version of the coating if you wanted to, and be fine with it. That's something we've spoken to our customers like and seeing that the European Union is banning PFAS chemicals by 2030. So they want to be ahead of the curve, especially since the eyewear market is so global. They want to make sure that if it's affecting the European Union, it's going to affect other countries as well. So that's also why they want to work with us is on that environmental aspect of things.
Yeah, I can imagine, again, we mentioned before that there's just so many opportunities about where this material could be applied. And clearly DuPont recognizes that opportunity, and they want to invest in it. So in terms of that collaboration, so is that physical space, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so it's not a traditional grant in terms of like funding. They provide just paying for our rent and all the equipment and the resources you would normally pay for, tens of thousands of dollars a month in Boston. Here we're getting it for free. And so we have a private office, our own lab space, and for a 23-year-old founder, that's huge. I think like our first lab out of college was shared, which was amazing, Mansfield Bioincubator, if you ever get to check that out. But that was our first lab space, and we had one bench and we were sharing our desk space, but now it's like we have an office with doors that close and also just our own lab with our own equipment. So it's exciting stuff here for the new year.
well, good on DuPont too. I mean, that's just a testament to, one of the world's largest organizations, right? Especially in this space. And the fact that they're looking to help drive innovation with really no strings attached in a way, where it's like there might not be something in it for them at the end of the day. You just never know. Okay, so maybe you are maybe using some of their products
Yeah.
in your formulations, of course, right? But still, I mean, it comes off so genuine, and I feel like you don't really hear these massive organizations like doing such, good deeds in a way, right? And really helping drive innovation. And that's just like a beautiful thing to hear. So, I mean, props to DuPont right now, too.
Yeah, this program was it's called the physical building's called the Innovation Space. It's funded through the University of Delaware, DuPont, and the Delaware state government. And the CEO of this space, Bill Provine, shout out to him because he was a former DuPont executive. And then when the Dow DuPont merger happened, this was one of the last buildings that wasn't claimed. And so then they created the program to create innovation and bring back startups to Delaware. So that's kind of their backstory here and why we're also here too.
Awesome. Well, you said over the next, year, you're focused on commercialization. So I guess what is it going to take to actually commercialize the product? What has to happen with your business and your team? What does that future look like?
Yeah, I think right now, it's really focused on hiring people full time because I've been the only person full time since the inception. We've had a lot of people work on a part-time basis, contract basis, but now we're scaling, we're getting pilots signed, and I need to make sure we deliver on them. So that's what we're looking for is people who have a nanoscience background, familiar with vapor deposition. Not to say our current team isn't smart and capable, but we need that knowledge gap filled for the manufacturing side of things as well. And then, I'm fundraising right now, so we launched an equity crowdfunding platform where anybody could invest in Unsmudgeable for just $100 or more. And so that's kind of how we're funneling the funding to hire the right people to help us deliver on the contracts. And then hopefully from there we can move from pre-revenue into revenue generation and get the right people to the help our customers.
Awesome. Well,
Superb.
yeah, it sounds like you're
Well,
moving very quickly too. So
yeah.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
And I think the audience would love to hear more about this crowdfunding campaign. Where do they find it? What's the kind of the concept there, and how do they get involved?
I try to go the traditional like funding route of just like reaching out to investors and angels and VCs. But what we found is that we're at an interesting spot where we're raising $1 million, and we're basically a material science company, but a lot of the VC firms invest, Series A and onwards. So we're not at that stage yet. And then we have the industry agnostic angel groups, which are great, but then they're not experienced enough in materials or eyewear to kind of make a safe investment. And so that's where I got some feedback from investors on to consider WeFunder, which is an equity crowdfunding platform. You can kind of think of it as like a mini New York Stock Exchange for startups. And basically just for $100 or whatever check size that we set, anybody can invest via Google Pay, Apple Pay, or and put in funding. So far, the goals here is that we can have more people involved, not just, in traditional investors, but supporters who wear glasses, our customers ourselves, our mentors, previous investors, to make it more accessible for investors to say yes. So we're raising 250K in the platform itself, and then the rest of the amount on via traditional funding. So that's kind of our strategy right now, and it's not easy in this climate to be a startup fundraising, but I think we've been trying to make good traction. We've raised about 20K so far just in the last 3 weeks or so, and we're looking to accelerate it as we move forward.
In such a complex scientific type of technology, you make it sound so simple
Mhm.
and so relatable. So I think that, it's exciting to see kind of the response. I hopped on the WeFunder, and
Yeah.
it was really cool to see the response that you were getting so quickly. And so, no, just super exciting. So what about like, how do people get in touch with you? Okay. So, okay, they might be interested in working with you, right? Or providing other forms of funding. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Best way to get in touch with me is probably on LinkedIn. It's just my name, Swarna Shiv. I'm always on there like 24/7. I answer it more than my texts, honestly. Um, or our WeFunder page is just wefunder.com/unsmudgeable. Either of those or our website, which is unsmudgeable.com.
Perfect. Well, we'll be sure to include a link to the WeFunder platform when we post the episodes, especially on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, it was if if you guys have any questions or anybody watching has questions, I'm always happy to chat and learn or help other founders through their journey.
Well, this has been incredible, and I love your approach, love the technology. I am definitely going to be heading across to WeFunder after this to get involved because, the whole part you mentioned there about accessibility, that's what this crowdfunding is all about. So I think there's, that a part where people can get involved, they can see the opportunity, they can be part of that journey. And so, of course, wishing you well, and thank you again for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle and Richard. I really appreciate it and looking forward to continuing the conversation.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to Swarna Shiv, CEO and founder of Unsmudgeable. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of the MedTech Impact Podcast. I'm Kyle Cruz.
And I'm Richard Meiklejohn. Until next time, keep innovating.